Well, good morning. I've been out walking my dog, and I came back in the house, and I see the headline that Europe is willing to negotiate, drop tariffs on industrial goods to zero. You have to understand that if they do that, which I understand the reasoning behind it, don't get upset. I'm not blaming them for anything. Is that they basically are surrendering to Donald Trump, and they will see Donald Trump use more economic bullshit to fuck with them. Okay? That's his plan. Um, and these guys, as soon as he tariffs in, these guys, these billionaires are going to become richer by the second. Okay? Because they're going to start buying up this crap that's out there. Because everything's going to go up. It's starting already. You can see the change in the stock market already as the news spreads and people are trying to figure out. This isn't a negotiation ploy by Europe. This is a complete surrender, an economic surrender by Europe. All right? So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know the long-term problems with that, but I know that when you're dealing with a person like Trump, you give him a little and he's going to take 10 miles. So I see that, I see nothing but real problems for the European markets and whatnot, and for us in the long run, because it'll make him confident that he can do anything, I guess, are not understanding stuff. Is a real shame. And like I say, I don't really understand tariffs. I understand, it's my assumption that the Americans were going to pay for it, not European, not the sender, the receiver pays for it, and in the long run the customer pays for it. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I really don't know. Anyhow, on the other front, there's a huge demonstrations over the weekend, which I think would have given Europe some hope to the fact that they had a negotiating point here, but I don't think they do, but that's beside the point, but it looked like it. And, people were worried about, that Trump would send the military in. One of the things that young people don't know, young people don't know about in today's world is that they did that. They sent military, National Guard against college protesters before. It was done. I'm not sure the year. It was Nixon administration. It was anti-war, and it was at Kent State in Ohio. The Ohio National Guard was called out. And I don't know, there was a few people, 2 or 3 people were shot and killed, I think. I'm not sure the number. Very famous. I can't remember. The comedian made a record album about it, because it was such a disgusting example of overreaction. And at the time I was in the National Guard, and I had gone through riot control training, and I watched these guys perform, and I don't know how they got away with it, but they were out of control, scared shitless and out of control. There were no other guns around. They had the only guns. But apparently they decided that they were in charge and they were going to do something about it, and they could shoot people, and they wanted to try. And one of them, you can see, it's a very famous picture. It's very difficult to get a hold of. It was on the album cover of this comedian, and I want to say Dick Gregory. Might have been him. And anyhow, the picture shows a National Guardsman moving away from the rest of his unit, kneeling, firing, aiming and firing. When you kneel, you're taking a precise aim. You're not shooting for the sky. You're shooting at something, and you're doing it precise. And you're design that position is designed for killing. All right? You want to stop the person. You want to kill that person. So that's what I saw there back then, and a lot of people don't remember that, But that helped. Those people helped end the war. Now, you want to end Trump, you're going to have to risk the same things. You're going to have to go out there and forget this anti-protest that he wants to do and everything like that. You have to go after him. He can be taken down. He's not very popular, so taking him down wouldn't be that hard to do if you really want to do it. I don't think anybody really wants to do it because it seems like it's a half-ass attitude about everything now. Granted, yesterday was a massive protest all over the world, but that kind of shit don't bother him. Look at his motto, I could care less. I've talked about this over the weekend. In history, when somebody takes that kind of attitude, now I'm not really sure if this is really a true quote, but it's been attributed to Marie Antoinette as saying, let them eat cake. And that got her head chopped off, They invented a weapon to do it. They invented the guillotine to execute people, the poor people, to execute the elite and people they felt were being traitors to their movement. Now, Trump wants to shoot and execute protesters. He does that, you're going to have a civil war. Because too many, it's not like, you got to look at the guns they have out there. You have these people that have AK-47s have made them fully automatic. The same thing with M4s. I'm not sure how hard it is with an M4, but I've heard it's very simple to do with an AK-47. The AK-47s are very, very easy to maintain. They use the NATO round, 7.62. Okay? Same round that apparently the M4 does. I don't know whether the make is the same, because I've heard that where we use a copper jacketed bullet, the Russians use steel jacket. I don't know, I don't study that stuff that much anymore. I used to be very much into weaponry, but I'm not anymore. I only look up types of weapons when I'm writing and I need to describe a weapon. But anyhow, you have all these militias out there that don't care what side they're on. Everybody says, well, they're Trump supporters. No, they're anarchists. They're not Trump supporters. They're chaos supporters. They're racist, anti-Semitic idiots. That's QAnon and the Proud Boys and that little group of people, 10 or 20,000. I don't know how many they have. Nobody knows. That's the problem with them. They're not, as far as I can tell, they're not as well organized as they would like you to believe. It's sort of like, during the Revolutionary War, guys would during hunting season would leave the army to go hunting for their families. Well, it's sort of the same thing with these people. They get an urge and they'll go crazy. They weren't the only ones responsible for the riot in January 6th, as much as everybody would like to say that. You see how many people we brought? No, you didn't really. There's that many people out there that are sycophants of Trump. He can bring to bear a lot of people like that, but so can the American people. And I'm not really sure that the Army's going to be on Trump's side in this deal. I mean, look how he pissed them off on, what was it, Friday? I think that the 4 soldiers, 3 or 4, was it 3 or 4? Anyhow, the soldiers that died in Lithuania were being brought back to be repatriated to the United States. There's a little ceremony, and it would have been nice if the President of the United States showed up, but you know what? Golfing was more important to him. You know, he had to go golfing, and that was the deal. So that took care of that. So his popularity in the military isn't that great, I don't think. I don't know. Because I don't know what he's done that's affecting the military. It's affecting the veterans, but the veterans have gotten screwed since war. You know, they've never been treated fairly. Some of them think they should get a lot more than what they're getting, and maybe they should have, maybe they shouldn't have. But I also think that, you know, if they want more like that, then they have to, you know, have some sort of deal with that, you know, those that do evil or bad should really be punished, not just a slap on the wrist, which is what they usually get. Don't go there, folks. I'm not going to start it. I'm 100% behind the U.S. Army military. You know, not so much their intelligence agencies, but definitely in favor of the military. But you know, the whole we lost over 50,000 men in Vietnam, and that was a war for the military-industrial complex to get wealthy. You know, a lot of the people that are around here today, with the billionaires and whatnot, started out getting money, and back then started making their money back then. You know, and that's the same with every war. War is it benefits industry and the people associated with it. You know, unfortunately. They get to make money. You know, they're in a position to make money. So they do. Trump doesn't care about that. You know, Trump's money, I don't know where Trump's investments are, personally. I don't think he's smart enough to make any investments. I mean, anybody that can bankrupt a casino, they are, unless you have rats running around the place and the plaster falling off the walls, those are pretty much money makers, or they used to be giant money makers when there was only the ones in Las Vegas. So now I'm not so sure if it's still that way or not, but they're basically are a, if you know what you're doing, they're great investments. And of course, Trump doesn't know what he's doing, so he bankrupted, 3 casinos, somebody said? I don't know. You know, there's a cartoon that shows up with the father talking to his son, and he's saying, you know, he bankrupted a casino. A casino! Yeah, I've often wondered about that myself. You know, how do you bankrupt a casino? You know, I know how the mob did it, but they did it on purpose. I'm not sure he did it on purpose or not, you know. I do know that after all was said and done, he didn't lose any money, but the small people involved in the construction and whatnot, and the maintenance and whatnot, all lost a lot of money. But that's Donald, you know, that's how he works, that's how he operates. So, what can I tell you, people? So listen, do me a favor out there, all right? If you want something researched, put it in the comments section of the video. If you want to, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button and the subscribe button. Help me out a little bit. For those of you that don't know, I did change my logo to the cat with giving the finger instead of the gorilla. I may have to go back to the gorilla because I don't think everybody recognizes the fact that that's my video. I don't think they look at the title. I think they look for the picture. Alright, so anyhow, I'm going to do the old style logo today, and then I'm going back to the new one tomorrow. So anyhow, do me this favor though, alright? Please, subscribe, at least like the video, okay? I need all the help I can get out there. Alright, everybody take care. See you tomorrow.